Speaker of today's session, inclusive finance, financial education, and livelihood activities of households in Ghana. Mohammed Amidu, University of Ghana, Ghana.
Okay. No, I'm okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to be the last presenter. And for that matter, we've already used the time to know the indigeneity issues. So now let's come to finance. I'm here to talk about financial inclusion, talk about financial literacy, and then we'll look at whether we can link the two to address the issue of livelihood. Financial inclusion, just as this is a primary or elementary paper that we are trying to do, so we need more information from the audience to strengthen the paper. I'm writing this paper with my colleague Joshua and then Aaron and Isaka. If we talk about financial inclusion, you're saying that access to finance or financial services to those who normally needed the financial, activities. And if you talk about, we all know the advantages of financial inclusion. It reduces inequality, it promotes human capital, stimulates human empowerment, provide avenue for remittances, and what have you. What I'm coming to do right now is to look at the gap in the literature, because we also know that if you are financially literate, you're able to explore the relationship, you're able to understand certain issue within finance. But the literature tells us that there has been a study between financial inclusion and then financial literacy. There's also a study between financial literacy and livelihood. But what we are trying to say, or what we are trying to suggest, is that all these studies, they've rather taken them independently. So we are trying to resolve one single question. Because if you look at it, the prior literature has failed to explore how relationship between financial inclusion and the financial literacy can jointly impact sustainable livelihood, or examine the livelihood activities of individuals who are financially included by way of financial education. So this is what we are coming to add. So our paper therefore seeks to answer these very important questions. Do individuals who are financially included have financial knowledge? If so, how does inclusive finance and financial knowledge impact on sustainable livelihood activities? But if you also look at the literature, we are mainly going to test two main hypotheses. First, we look at financial literacy increases the level of financial inclusion. And the second, we interact between the financial literacy and the financial inclusion have on the overall impact on sustainable livelihood. So here is the case that there is a relationship between financial literacy and financial inclusion. And there is also a relationship between financial literacy and sustainable development or sustainable livelihood activity. So we are just trying to look at the relationship among these three variables. So let just by way of time, for our contribution. Let also remember that if we talk about mobile money subscription, Ghana is doing very well. If we look at from 2017, we have 21.36 million subscribers. So in 2018, just a year, we now have almost 30 million subscribers. This is by way of our data. Let us also know that we conducted, or we sample, or we survey our data in 2018. At that time, Ghana has 10 administrative regions. Now we have 16. And currently, too, we have 216 districts. But as at the time of our data, we have 419 microfinance institutions. But at the moment, they are less than 100. And by way of banks, previously there were 36, but 7 of them has gone. So now we have around 28 universal banks. And then by way of rural banks, we have 140 rural banks. So with this, we believe that we'll be able to have more financial inclusion. We selected 60 districts by way of PPS, that's the probability proportional to size. And then with that, we're able to get 1,966 individual households. So our data is made up of 1,966. First, empirically, we specify 5 main indicators of bank-enabled financial inclusion. We will first look at ownership. We also look at the use of the bank account. Then we also look at the frequency of the usage, then access to credit, and the access to use the bank account for making payment. If you look at, and all this, they are all dynamic variable. So if you have a bank account, we allocate 1 to you. If you don't have, we give you 0. But for financial literacy, these are the variables that we use. We took 7 main what they call scores. So if you score all the questions related to financial literacy, you have 7. But if you fail to score 1, or if you fail to score any, you have 0. So I shouldn't worry. I shouldn't bore you with this. But this has nothing to do with indigeneity. So let's move forward. So this is the data. We sample 722 females. For males, we have 1,235. And in terms of age, we have this number. And then the marriage status, we have this. Education. So we have 101 who are non-educated. But that doesn't mean that these people are not financially included. And for tertiary level, we have 961. So for the household size, we have this. And then for bank accounts, out of the even though we have missing figures, we have 509 sample or within the survey who has no bank account. And those who use their bank account to save, we have 1,384. But if you also look at the frequency of withdrawals, if you have a bank account, we have 1,547 what they call household who normally withdraw. And then by way of the question, we ask, how many times do you withdraw in a month? So we have only 420 who says yes. So it means that some of them may just have the bank account, and then they may not normally withdraw it frequently. This is by way of employment status. So these are the continual, what they call variables. So financial literacy, the mean score here is 4.1. So it also means that a lot of them, there are some who has nothing to do with financial literacy, meaning that the question that we ask with regard to financial literacy, there are some sample who score 0, but we also have some who score all. Per monthly income, 20,000 Ghana cedi is almost $4,000. So among our sample, there are some whose monthly income is around $4,000. So this is where the indigeneity issue will set in, because we believe that one may have a bank account. If you have a bank account, what do you use your bank account for? You may use your bank account purposely for savings, or you may use your bank account for credit, or you may just want to open a bank account because you want to withdraw frequently, or you may have a bank account where you use that bank account for making payment. So here, we adopted an estimator called by probit. So you just open a bank account, but you open a bank account for the purpose of savings. Or you open a bank account for the purpose of you having access to credit. Or you open a bank account, you want to use that bank account for payment. So this were the results. So those who have a financial, what they call knowledge in finance, they were able to have, or they were able to create a bank account. But what we didn't see is that none of them, or there wasn't any significance between those who have the knowledge in finance and who have the bank account, who use the bank account for only savings. The results give us, there wasn't significant with the result. In terms of the age, that's what we had. But what actually also marveled us is this result. This one. The level of education has nothing to do with financial inclusion. That one we need to digest or dissect the data and find out what is the reason. Is it that the degree per se is not in finance, or is not in accounting, or is not in economics? We need to digest that. And we all know that at the point of our study, this is just to tell us the regional, what they call, result. So we have Eastern, and then in Eastern and then Western region, in terms of financial inclusion, they are low. Now, so we are looking at the relationship between financial inclusion and livelihood. So the results suggest that if you are financially included, obviously your your livelihood activity will also what? Increase. But the result between, this is the original result, but the result between financial inclusion and the financial literacy and the livelihood, we didn't see any significant result between financial literacy and livelihood activities of individuals. Now the joint effect. So if you interact financial literacy and opening of the account, we say that your employment status increases. And then if you also look at only the financial, if you interact financial literacy and then savings, your employment status also what? Enhance. So does the financial literacy and credit. But in terms of financial literacy and then payment, we have no significant result. So in concluding, we are saying that financial literacy obviously increases financial inclusion in Ghana. And we're also saying that financial inclusion improves sustainable livelihood. But there wasn't any relationship as yet between the financial literacy and the livelihood activity. So for policy, even though it wasn't conclusive, we are saying that the domestic policy makers in Ghana are advised to be mindful of the fact that financial exclusion resulting from financial literacy is detrimental for the better sustainable livelihood. So it means that we shouldn't just assume that the moment somebody is financially included, without financial literacy, the sustainable livelihood activities will be affected. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, so we have, I think, 5 minutes at least for questions. Got one in the back there. Go for it.
Thank you. I have several issues to address, to ask. First of all, I just wanted to know what was the definition of financial literacy that you mentioned here, that you base your work on it, and because somewhere you talked about financial knowledge and other places you were talking about financial literacy. The other thing is, when you were talking about financial literacy, I think you proposed a questionnaire to measure the financial literacy, the level of financial literacy among your sample area. And the questionnaire, I just saw something about a stock market and the prices, and just want to know, it's just considering the demand side or the supply side, because you were talking about the range of the services that might not be available around the area that you were talking about. So it's deeming a bit your measurements, the measurement of financial literacy, because if there is no availability, how you are going and talking about the measuring that financial literacy. And the other thing you were talking in your literature review, you mentioned Groman 2018 that they didn't talk about the impact of the financial literacy on livelihood or well-being. However, if I remember correctly, they were talking about two stages, developing country and developed country, and they say that the impact of financial literacy and financial inclusion is different in these two. So they recognizing the impact of the context on financial literacy, on the relationship between financial literacy and financial inclusion. the other thing is that you talked about that because of financial knowledge, because of people, they have an account, they can have job, but I think it's the reverse change. Because they have a job, they can have an account, a banking account, because normally they are going to be paid through their account. So it's the reverse change, not the other side. It's my point of view. So the other thing, there were so many things. The most of them, like, it's the definition of financial literacy, the availability of services, your questionnaire, the way that you measure the financial literacy, the people that you mentioned in your literature review. It's a very interesting topic, and I'm really thank you for bringing up such a paper, and I hope to see or hear more about that.
Okay, let's take one more, and those were great comments. Maybe you can go talk to her. She'll be like a referee for you or something. You know?
Yeah, I'll come and see you.
All right. So I think we'll take the very last one. Where is that?
Okay.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
Maybe not then.
And, let's do, Mwangi had his hand up as well. You go ahead, but Mwangi had his hand up a while back. I missed it.
So thank you for this topic. And I think the fact that researchers, economists, or whoever are spending time to look into that, it's quite important. My comment on this is that I think the approach is too simplistic, because, you know, financial literacy as is, and it's limited to knowledge, while I think you should be talking about financial capability, which is far beyond the knowledge. It also involves the behavior, and probably starts with awareness, knowledge, skill, the art of, you know, what influences the decisions. The behavior part comes on board. So when a person decides to use credit or deposit or make a payment, so the whole equation of financial inclusion assumes that the full intermediation is actually working, you know, and according to his or her choice. And therefore the value that is derived from that, you know, is far beyond simply making access available. So the fact that you are sitting in front of the bottle of water, for you access just a stretch of a hand. So we expect, if you know the value of that water, by the end of this session those bottles should be empty. And therefore you are able to actually attribute the meaning of taking that water to the benefit that is in you. So in terms of financial services, financial solutions, is the same analogy. Now, access alone, knowledge alone, that does not lead to value, you know, and that the way we measure that is quite important. So I'm glad that you are making it now, and I think more of that is needed. And then the next question is financial inclusion, so what? And, you know, finance, people don't eat money. It's just a service to the society, to the economy. It is only a service. So it's contributing to, but not directly. And therefore, the real connection, the direct connection, or simplistic view of connecting financial inclusion and poverty eradication or alleviation, I think is, it needs to be rethought. Because there are many other driving variables to actually making sure that a person, you know, gets out of poverty or creates wealth or is happy with what, you know, they have.
Thank you for a very interesting paper. Mine are relatively small, minor questions. I was struck by the fact that population of Ghana is 28 million. Subscribers for money transfer is 29 million. And given that you have a young population, so we are saying that people are subscribing to maybe up to 4 services each, if my arithmetic is correct. So can you comment a little bit about that, why the nature of the financial system is such that this many number of different kinds of financial services and people subscribing to multiple? So that's one question. The other is about the actual sample. I was struck by your maximum income is what you said was $4,000. Your minimum was over $1,000, 8,000 cedi per month. Is that really representative of the Ghanaian population, or how does this affect how we interpret your results? And that part also gets me to think about the comment that was made about employment and financial accounting. If really we're talking about that income group, most of those people, when they get the jobs they have, they are probably told you have to have an account to be paid. So maybe that's why you're getting that result.
Okay.
All right, so if you take just a few minutes, and feel free to answer whichever ones you want, and you can go back and talk to people.
The first two, they were all comments that we need to incorporate into the paper. That, as I said, is elementary paper. We needed more information. With regard to the subscribers, for just in the morning, we were saying that in terms of mobile money, Ghana is the fastest growing country in the entire Africa. For the population as at 2018 is around 28 million. But it will be interesting for you to know that all the secondary schools in Ghana make use of mobile payment. So in terms of subscription, they account for them as subscribers. And that's one point. Early in the morning, the governor was telling us that you may have one person who may have two mobile phones, and for that matter, these two phones may have a mobile money. And it's also happening in Ghana. Because even though the government has put in place a system where if you, for instance, subscribe to MTN, you can easily make a payment to a Vodafone. But normally, and the charges should be the same, as if you are transferring money from the same, the same network. But this hasn't gone down well with a lot of people. So they still want to maintain the two phones. If they want to transfer money from MTN to MTN, they will use MTN. If they want to transfer money from Vodafone subscriber to a Vodafone subscriber, they will use the Vodafone, portal. So, and we have four, we have MTN, we have Vodafone, we have Airtel, and then we have Glo. So this may account for the total number of subscribers being more than the total population.
Okay, so on that note, let's give a big round of applause to our speaker. Let's also give a big round of applause to the entire panel. And since it's the end of the day, I'm sure all of us want to congratulate Victor and his wonderful team. It's been a great day. I don't know where Victor is, but Victor, wherever you are, thank you. Doing a great job.